On everybody, welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to just dive into the Boston Celtics offseason. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July. Hope you bet on Joey Chestnut and those hot dogs. Hope you had a couple of bevies. But we're back with some more Celtics content. But before we dive into some Dame speculation, some LeBron homecoming, maybe some Luka Doncic stuff we need to get into, and of course your comments, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Also, like the notification bell so you know the next time we're dropping the Celtics content, and make sure you get active in the chat. Good for the algorithm, good for my brain. Speaking of good for my brain, this Dame stuff is really starting to pick up steam. Talked about it in the last couple of days, and I'll be honest, when it was first brought up, I was like, this is pipe dream stuff. This is shiny objects trying to make Celtics fans feel better that, hey, maybe this offseason doesn't look the best, but Damian Lillard's out there. It's starting to seem like there's real buzz that Dame is not only target for Boston, but that he is really interested in signing. There's been more reporting around it, and it's starting to, this is the thing. Brad Stevens has spent this entire offseason, along with ownership and Bill Chisholm, the new owner of the Boston Celtics, making sure the books look clean, because they're not really sure what type of competitive team they're going to be putting out there this year. Clearly, they're trying to stay under the second apron, even though somehow they're still over it. They're going to get out of the tax, right? So if all of this is true, we know this is true based on how they just sent Kristaps Porzingis away to save money, how Drew Holiday went away for an expiring contract, right? They are clearly trying to save money right now. So if Damian Lillard is going to come to Boston, it's going to be for cheap. So now that we know that, right? We know he's getting all $110 million of his contract from the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks were just like, hey, listen, we're good. You can go away. We'll still pay you over the next 5 years, which is just bonkers. Imagine being good at anything enough that when you get fired from your job, they're like, we're still going to just pay you. I would love that. Fire me and pay me. That's like being an NBA coach, right? Just beautiful stuff. But anyways, if that is the case and that Dame is going, let's attack it this way. Dame is coming. Let's say it's going to be for $5 million. That's it. Now let's get into this. I know there was some concern in the chat about it. Are we real? Like, if Damian Lillard is only going to be $5 million, like, say it's $5 million this year, $5 million next year. He's not going to play this year. It's just straight up just $5 million to not play. But then next year he comes back and he's ready to go. Are we not in on this? Is there any part of you that's not excited about that? Like, that's less than what Sam Hauser makes, right? That's essentially a vet minimum that he would become. That's like Tim Hardaway Jr. money. You're getting Damian Lillard at Tim Hardaway Jr. money. Why wouldn't we want that? Now, you can talk about him being washed. I think I misaged him too. He's 34 right now, will be 35 this year, so probably 36 when he comes back and plays basketball. Dame, sorry for rushing your age, okay? But yes, he's a little bit older. Yes, he's not really a good defender, but shooting ages beautifully. So if that is going to be the case, let's just add him there. And you have to trust that Joe Mazzulla is cutthroat enough that if Dame doesn't have it to be the starting premier point guard, the guy that is going to be leading the franchise, right? Like, clearly he's going to be at a different phase in his career. And if Mazzulla is able to massage that well enough that Dame is still able to bring some of his powers back, this seems like a no-brainer, right? Isn't this just like zero risk? Like, what is the worst that happens? That he ends up not playing well, that he doesn't recover fast enough, that he's not the same type of guy that he was before at $5 million? It's basically like a rookie deal. So I don't know why, the more that I think about this, we should be like, let's get Tatum on the phone with Dame. Let's get Luke Cornett. I know you're on the San Antonio Spurs, but you're a very likable guy. Larry, you call him. Larry Bird, call him. Let's get all the Celtics people to call him, because this is just zero risk. And then all of a sudden we are retooled and ready to go in the 2026-2027 season with again, I know a lot of people in the chat were like, let's not start him. Fine, we don't have to start him. Let's have him come off the bench. That in bringing a guy like that at a cheap cost, right? You think about like the ripple effects of what this does for the Celtics. It's not just the guys that are on the team right now. If you are an aging vet, right? We saw like what Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. did this offseason, right? They took very cheap deals to go play with the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic to have a shot at winning an NBA title, right? If you are a free agent, aging part of, like in a later part of your career, you just want to compete for the finals, right? You look at the Celtics roster, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. They got Tatum, they got Brown, they got Dame, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard. So if you're like an aging center, I don't even know who would be a free agent at that point. But when you think about the centers that were moving around a little bit this year, Boston all of a sudden becomes a destination that you want to be in. And that doesn't even include what could happen in next year's NBA draft. So the more I've been thinking about this, because again, when the initial reports came out that they're like, oh, Dame to Boston, I'm like, get the hell out of here. I'm not interested in that. Well, guess what? I am interested now. Maybe it's because we haven't had a lot of NBA rumors or news, or we're still waiting for Al Horford to go sign with the Golden State Warriors, which we'll talk when we get into the comments section. But I'm in on this. I hope Dame is in on this. Let's go. He's already got green jerseys from his time with the Milwaukee Bucks. That's an easy change. Branding's done. The branding's done. LeBron has the most main character energy I've ever seen in my life. I think it's so funny that Stephen A and LeBron don't like each other. They're doing the same thing. So for those that weren't paying attention, there is, like, LeBron opts into his contract, $52 million, and then immediately he's like, I want to compete. And it sounds like he's trying to work his way out of LA. And then yesterday, just attacking social media in the best way possible. Allie Clifton, who is a reporter on the NBA, was wearing some Cavs gear while they were out celebrating the 4th of July. LeBron shares it, being like, that's some good merch right there. Then we see LeBron golfing out there commenting, and then LeBron was out there doing a workout in the Cleveland Cavaliers facility. Is he coming back to the Eastern Conference? This is how on drugs the East is this year. It is nuts. The Magic trade like 75 picks for Desmond Bane. The Knicks hire Mike Brown. The Bucks just straight up cut Dame. And now is LeBron really coming back to Cleveland? Financially, I think it would have to include like Jared Allen, maybe Darius Garland too, and it's probably too much to risk it all. But with the East being wide open, if you told me you had Mobley, LeBron, and Donovan Mitchell, that's a pretty spicy team. So I'm hoping LeBron doesn't come back East because he's 40, dude. He's 40. We got to stop. We're talking about him too much for a 40-year-old. And I'm guilty of it too because I put him on the cryon. We're talking about him right now. But I just thought that was hilarious. Like, this is the Tatum injury has changed. The Tatum and the Halliburton injury. We got to throw Hallie into it too. But has thrown just the East into a tizzy where people are way more confident than they should be, because they're just seeing this one injury and they're like, wow, the East is wide open. We got to throw everything against the wall now. I'll be fascinated to see what Cleveland does. This third thing that I wanted to talk about, and again, this is probably more of an abbreviated video than we typically do because it's been a quiet couple of days. Everybody's enjoying the holidays. I wanted to talk about Brad Stevens. That was going to be the initial thought. I just was thinking, like, how do you think Brad has done this offseason? And because I initially was like, man, did he, like, all we did was cut salary, right? And I think if the deals were flipped, if we moved off of Kristaps Porzingis before we moved Drew Holiday, I think we probably would feel a little bit better, or at least I would. I shouldn't speak for everybody. I would, because the Drew Holiday return I thought was pretty nice. You got some seconds. You got Anthony Simons. You also saved some money. You got off the Drew Holiday contract, which, listen, I love Drew. That was going to get expensive in the next couple of years. But then with Kristaps, you got rid of him and you got nothing back. And then since then, I think there was some excitement like, well, maybe this means we get Luke Cornett. Maybe there's another trade happening. Maybe Al Horford returns. And then what's happened since then is Josh Minott, Luka Garza. We saw Luke Cornett get $41 million to go to the San Antonio Spurs. Congrats to Luke on your bag. Are you allowed to do that? Double salute? That feels wrong. And then it looks like Al Horford is going to join the Golden State Warriors. So really, it's been kind of mums to work the last couple of days, and I could sense some frustration. I think there's like two camps right now where it's like we trust in Brad forever and ever, amen. And then there's the other group that's like, hey Brad, what have you done for me lately? And I do think there's like some sentiment too that Brad has been dealt like a pretty good hand up until now, right? Where all he was doing was massaging around the edges. And the Drew Holiday trade was huge, right? They seem to have gotten off Marcus Smart at the right time to bring Kristaps Porzingis in. So just like moves around the edges a little bit to help go get a title. But now you're put in a difficult situation where financially we're focused on some stuff. And then, like, but you still have these guys in their prime battling an injury. Like, it's a weird spot to be in. But it started to make me think because I was getting excited about this 2026 2027 free agent class. Now, all of this might not matter in a few years, right? I'm sorry, in a few months, because maybe we'll see some extensions, and then that will change everything. But right now, here's a list of some of the upcoming free agents for next year. And I'm going to start with the one at the top that I'm a little bit excited about. Luka freaking Magic, Luka Doncic, okay? So Luka's going to be he's going to be a free agent. You got Paolo Banchero, who's going to be a restricted free agent. Jalen Williams, who is fresh off an NBA championship, he's going to be a free agent. De'Aaron Fox of the Spurs, that one is actually pretty intriguing because of what San Antonio has done in the last couple of days, right? Or last couple of weeks, where they drafted Dylan Harper. So now their guards consist of Harper, Castle, and De'Aaron Fox. There's going to be an odd man out there soon. Chet Holmgren of the Thunder are going to have to spend a ton of money. Trae Young, I think that's an interesting name to keep track of, because Atlanta has so much buzz right now. And if Atlanta falls out short, I promise you Trae Young is going to be the one that falls on the sword. We already know Dame, LeBron, whatever. Zach LaVine of the Sacramento Kings. James Harden now will have a player option. The Knicks are going to have to decide whether or not they're going to pay Mikal Bridges. You have Norman Powell. Porzingis will be back on the market. Nikola Vucevic. Austin Reeves of the Lakers. Like Dyson Daniels of Atlanta as well. Jaden Ivey of the Pistons, who I think is a sneaky one. CJ McCollum hits the books. Andrew Wiggins. Okay, we're at the point where it doesn't matter anymore. But I just want to point that out there, that Luka has yet to sign an extension, and there hasn't even really been talks about it. Now, very rarely do players go out there and bounce out of LA, right? Very rarely does that happen. I don't know if Luka has shown any interest in Boston, but I do think it's interesting that Boston has still kept, they didn't trade Derek White, they didn't trade Jaylen Brown, and I don't think they plan to, but it allows them to keep that in their back pocket, in their arsenal, so that if something like a Luka pops up, there might be an opportunity to take a shot at him and make it work financially. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because I do think an interesting thing happened in free agency that I don't know if everybody caught. Dorian Finney-Smith, Dodo, for those who are close to him, they played together in Dallas. Luka and Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian is like a great 3-and-D guy, clearly was boys with Luka, was excited to go, I believe, from Brooklyn to the Lakers to play with him this past season. And he was a pretty important part of that Lakers team. He was playing like 35, 40 minutes a game for the Lakers in the postseason. He can play like 3, 4, 5, essentially. He was playing even some small ball 5 because the Lakers were relying on like freaking Jackson Hayes. All of this to say, the reporting, Dorian Finney-Smith signed with the Houston Rockets in free agency. The reporting is that the Lakers were kind of bad-mouthing Dorian Finney-Smith's health as he was testing the market, and that got back to, so the Lakers could get him back at a cheaper price. That got back to Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith was like, deuces, I'm going to Houston. Now you got LeBron out there being like, where am I going to go to play in Cleveland? Like, what's LeBron going to do? All I'm saying is the vibes feel a little murky there in Los Angeles, and in the longer Luka does not sign an extension, the more I think he might test the market. Now, there was rumors that Luka and the Joker are boys, and they're going to want to do that, but I do think, is Brad trying to be like, hey, listen, let's just go into next season with like clean books, a fresh start, so we have the ability, if something like that falls into your lap and you're all of a sudden making adjustments. Again, the likelihood of Luka coming to Boston is very small, but it's quiet in the offseason right now and we need stuff to talk about. But I do think that there is a chance that if he doesn't sign an extension, clearly he wants to win. And I don't know. So we're just putting that out there, putting a little Luka Magic stink out there. But I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on the Brad Stevens job this summer. If you kind of agree with me that he's just kind of massaging the edges, waiting to see what happens next year, or if we have to have a longer conversation about good old Brad. All right, before we get into your comments, just wanted to hit up a couple of things. If you've made it this far, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. It's good for business. Speaking of good for business, I also host another show. Maybe you've seen me in the comments, the NBA Bit with Mike Zakarian, where it's we do more live stream stuff. So when you see me in the comments, go ahead, subscribe to that channel too. And if you're into fantasy sports, we've got Elite Fantasy Sports with Mike Zakarian that mostly covers basketball, whether it's best ball, baseball, daily, all that stuff. So go check that out. Give that some more love. I would love to see you over there. Let's build the community, build the brand. All right, let's get into some of your comments, some good stuff. First of all, we got to shout out our guy Ashton Genty, because if we don't shout him out, I'm nervous he's going to have a hospital visit, because you were balling out there in the chat. Love to see it, though. Love to see it. Also, and if you haven't commented yet, get involved in the comments. It's good stuff. Let's start with our guy Divine Comedy 232. He says, if Golden State signs Al and Damian Lillard, they will be the retirement home team. And I just thought that was funny. I thought we should bring that up, right? But you'd have Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Dame, and Al. That's honestly, I play in an over 40 basketball league in town, and they could all be in my team soon. That is an AARP team. You're gonna have we got to get some Photoshop work, get them in some walkers, put some tennis balls at the end of the walkers. So that was a great comment by our guy Divine Comedy. Let's go. How about Ken Westbrooks 847 said, got me all giddy thinking about Luka to Boston. See, that comment got me excited about it too, so I threw it in there. One more. Jason Wolf 3252 said, I would rather kept Drew Holiday than sign Damian Lillard and hope that he can give you something in a year. I think that's fair. But again, Damian Lillard, again, assuming it's $5 million this year and $5 million next year. So we'll say it's 2 years, $10 million, right? That's $10 million versus Drew making, I believe, 32 or 33, 34, and 37 over the next 3 years. So $10 million versus 100, like it's a big drop off, right? So the risk reward, the investment in it is so different. And I agree, like I would prefer to have a guy who's healthy and can play basketball versus Damian Lillard. And I love Drew Holiday. I mean, he is one of the most beloved teammates in every stop he's been in, whether it's the Sixers, whether it was his time with the Pelicans and Anthony Davis, when he won a title with the Bucks, or when he won a title with the Celtics. Not only does he make an impact, and I thought Noah Dazelle from Celtics blog and CNLS Media has done a really good job covering this stuff, but not only does he do an impactful job in the locker room, but also outside the locker room in the community. He's like a stand-up guy. He and his family, like they just believe in immersing themselves in the community and doing well. So I'm not saying that like I don't love Drew, but I do think we're at the point financially and where he's at in his career. I mean, even if you just take a look at what this last season looked like for him, I don't know. It might have been time. And who knows? Maybe he finds himself in another situation where he can compete. So I think it'll end up being good for both Drew and the Celtics. But that's where I land. But that's going to do it for us today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe on the way out. Check out the NBA Bit and Elite Fantasy Sports, and we will see you next time.